The Sikh religion is it's a world religion, and yet so little is known about it. Sikh community, Sikh men and women are such a vibrant global presence, but how little we know about them. So this exhibition introduces the Sikh presence in a very meaningful way. Nep draws upon his Sikh heritage, and here we have the vital metaphysical principle of one divine being. The Sikh tradition originates with Guru Nanak, the founder of the faith in medieval India. It was a very rich, pluralistic world. Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Buddhists, very vibrant presence, lots of ethnicities, lots of languages. And yet with his vision of oneness, Guru Nanak enunciated the divine as numeral one. And that's very significant in our very divided and polarized world, to bring this vision of inclusivity. We are all one. The cosmos is one. It's tied to the same thread. So it's very significant, and more than a conceptual doctrine, it's really the experience, the awareness of this foundational one, which is very significant to the Sikh tradition, to the Sikh religion. Guru Nanak's words, Jo Brahmande, Soi Pinde. So whatever is in the transcendent out there is right here, immediately in the body, Pinde, in the body itself. So the body, the senses are deeply validated, affirmed, celebrated. The divine is one, transcendent, and it is both male and female. Ape Puruk, Ape Henar. It is the flower, it is the bumblebee, it is the green leaf, it is the lotus, it is the sun, it is the moon, it's the planets, it's the infinite everywhere. But it is palpitating in each and every body and every little wing of the bird that I see there. And the tradition draws attention to the mother's body. So the female principle is very significant. Instead of death, where do we originate? It's the mother's womb. And the mother's womb is greatly lauded. In fact, it is that utopian world where we are born, where we have no caste or class or any kind of hierarchical divisions. Everything is one. And it's a spiritual place. That's where we are doing our meditation. That's what Guru Nanak says. There are beautiful images of the womb, of the woman's body in Sikh scripture itself. And it is the female voice, Bani, that gives us an inkling of the divine one. Guru Nanak and his successor gurus took up the female tone, female voice, female accoutrements, female adornments to kind of express their spiritual longing for the infinite one, because they saw the female as spiritually refined, as being sophisticated.
So today I'm here to talk about Sikh femininity, and specifically the power of the female spirit, something that is threaded throughout Gurbani and Sikhi as a way of showing up in the world. And our gurus, for us Sikhs to go back to our gurus' words and what they were trying to convey to us. And there is this central theme about the losing of self, especially the detachment of the egoic sense of self. And that must also mean removing restrictions such as gender binaries to really show up in an authentic way. And the gurus speak about it beautifully in Gurbani and move through these gender identities with fluidity, seamlessly, as a spectrum rather than a constriction or restriction. And I think this is such a radical approach, because it is something that only in the West, only in the last kind of 20 to 30 years are we talking about gender spectrums and fluidity. So it's really important for us to understand and take note of these were the really radical and revolutionary concepts that our gurus were talking about in their day, and trying to bring those messages into the present moment. And for us as females to look back at our rich history of Sikh warrior women showing up and fighting for justice on the battlefield, in spiritual realms, in political realms, doing just as much as their male counterparts is really important, because I feel as though this part of Sikhi is sometimes minimized or erased, but it's really important to see those role models standing up with, you know, for oppression, for the marginalized, with love and gurmat, and to bring those concepts into the present day, to really understand the female lead and the female power in terms of connection, but also those healing components as well that the female energy brings forward. So the current and ongoing Kisan Morcha, the farmers' protests happening in India, it was Punjabi Sikh women that were taking the lead in fighting for freedom and the continuation of this, and a real spotlight on women taking these roles that we haven't really seen in kind of mainstream media. Also looking at our Gurdwara and how women show up and commit to seva, whether that's through Kirtan or Langar or teaching or leading or just supporting through the ways that they show up in their relationships. Because I often think we talk about these concepts as though they're happening out there or historically, but really looking at the way that we see the role of the mother, the role of our sisters, our wives, our friends, and really pulling the power and the strength from those females in our lives and in our relationships and our own ecosystems. And in Gurbani, again, there is a lot of talk about the bride yearning for her lover, and many scholars have spoken about how this is not just a personal yearning, but a very collective, holistic one, about the yearning of connection to the divine, but also out in the divinity that lives out in nature and the flow of life, and the fact that life itself flows from women, and that it just feels super powerful, and brings me personally lots of strength.
Kirtan is the key form of expression that was gifted to the Sikh people and to the wider community. It was the tool that was used by Guru Nanak and the preceding gurus to express, connect, understand, and uplift themselves and others. When we look into the values of Gurbani, we see that the language that's being used is a feminine language. On the top of every Shabad, there is a title which indicates to you which rag, which mood to express, connect, or understand this particular piece of poetry, this particular Shabad in. This is the parameter that helps us as humans to build a connection and build relatability. After the rag, we see the word mahalla. This is a feminine term. This is where the Sikh gurus who lived in male bodies presented themselves in a female poetic representation in comparison to that of the creation, to become the bride of, which means that the feminine energy is the force of healing that was installed in the Guru Granth Sahib, in the Sikh scripture. The purpose of this was to connect with the nurturing spirit that exists within all humans. That balance of yin and yang, of male and feminine, of estrogen and testosterone that exists within every human body. To connect with the divinity within us allows us to connect with compassion. Daya is a key concept of Sikh values. In order to show up for another, in order to stand against oppression and stand in support of other communities who are being harmed, whose voices are being silenced, compassion is absolutely vital. In order to do that, we need to be able to find the ways that we access that connection within us. Kirtan was one of the pathways, one of the key pathways that was encouraged, practiced and shared by the Sikh gurus. When the Sikh faith was born, it was at a time where India was being oppressed. Rulers of other lands came in at many different times in India's history to control that land. But when Guru Nanak, the first Sikh Guru, stood up against that oppression to empower the people by connecting them with their inherent humanity that they had disassociated from, to hide behind a blanket of dismissal. This is not our problem, this is their problem, therefore it doesn't concern me. Guru Nanak said, no. All human problems are your problems. All human issues are your issues. You should care, because this world is your home. This earth and all the people within it, all the forms of life are your family. So to stand in support of people who are being oppressed is part of your responsibility, and here are the tools to do that. Here is the way to uplift yourself so you can help to uplift others. Music was placed in the heart of Sikh practice. The entire Guru Granth Sahib is written in musical language, in the language of rags. A rag is a mood, moods that you and I as humans feel every single day of our lives. And there are 60 rags that are present in the Guru Granth Sahib. They help us as humans to connect with our basic human experience and use that as a portal to connect and elevate in this spiritual experience. This allows us to achieve a higher potential in the human body. That was the purpose of this guided wisdom that was presented to us as the Guru Granth Sahib, the Sikh holy scripture. This is the guidance to help you navigate your life, to help you become a more capable and more loving and caring human being. These techniques were practiced through the language of music. You might wonder why music? Why is it so important? This is what Kirtan is. It's sung, it's expressed. If we just think about how prominent music is across cultures throughout the world, whichever country you visit, whether you know the language or not, you can connect with somebody's laughter or with their pain through a cry. That's the language of emotions, and music just becomes a vessel to wrap those emotions, make them sometimes more pleasant or more relatable to us. When we feel a little blue, we might listen to music or particular songs that evoke that emotion within us, might allow us to shed a few more tears so we feel that sigh of relief. That's your experience and your connection of how music was used for healing individuals and communities. And this was the power of the Sikh path. The Sikh way of living was to connect with your own internal goodness, to uplift that, allow it to come to the surface, where you then go out into society, into the communities, and you lift up others along with you.
I feel really excited for this exhibition to be taking place in Scotland specifically. I feel like there's an ownership of narrative, there's a real centering of generational trauma and histories and things that have often been erased and whitewashed with propaganda machines. And I think it's an opportunity to have conversations again across intergenerational lines as well. And I think this is really important because we're all coming with different perspectives, and art allows the multiple readings, and we're all going to perceive dependent on our own positionality. And I think that's really beautiful, that we are bringing we're having an individual experience within a collective one. So what I may see or experience may be completely different to another, and I really think bringing those pieces together allow for like a whole narrative to be created. And we've not really had the space for that. There hasn't been the space for healing or conversations without things becoming so divisive or polarized. And I think it is really important for the Sangha to start coming forward and having these really, really nuanced conversations. And that's what art does. It pushes the boundaries. It is a somatic experience. You feel it within your body. And I'm super excited to experience the show.